That was scared the shit out of me.
Oh, yeah, no, that was.
I got a flight coming
lucky.
up to Phoenix, right? I'm thinking, what the?
You know, I flew all the time, you know what I always thought of? Well, it's gonna go quick if it goes, so.
It's not quick.
That's right.
I think of it a roller coaster with a sleep at the end.
My hope was at least my family would get ready. Not a big deal.
It was crazy.
All right. Hey, Jamal. Yeah.
You wanna sit up here, man? Believe me, I don't wanna sit next to Bob any more than I have to. Alright.
I gotta adjust the camera.
What?
You sure this is?
I'll sure over.
I'll get my seat up and I'll get a financial back.
On top.
Oh,
Hey, we got
So now he texted
What?
it on, he's at odd
we
hour.
got a C version of that go
all right.
for the 259 guys. Yesterday, we had a
This is you, Brian.
really good meeting.
You're all,
Okay.
I don't know.
Senator
This is,
Kennedy.
one of the village PDCs.
Senate Council.
I'm not going to Albany. Because Reedy and I traded off funding on this. He's going to Albany.
But I think.
Okay, that's why we're only sending one guy.
Let me see if I can get you covered.
Don't do me.
Do you wanna go to Albany?
I don't think so.
Well,
We
no,
want to send
probably
three
take-
guys to Albany.
We probably could take it out of cap. Go.
All right,
I like that.
I'll talk to you in Washington.
Make sure you, me and Dan talk. I'll take it out of there.
All right.
We're paying for some retirees to go to Washington. We could pay for you to go to Albany.
Oh, yeah,
So ready to roll?
ready.
I'm gonna record. Go. All right, we'll start with our January 10th, 2024 Hamburg IDA Board of Directors meeting. Cam Hall.
Here.
Bob Hutchison.
Here.
Thomas Moses.
Here.
Andy Palmer.
Here.
Jamal Perkins.
Here.
Bob Reynolds.
Here.
Wentz Valentin.
Here.
We have Jennifer and Mary. And excused are Janet McGregor Farr and Davis Sokolsky. And next we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion to open the January 10th Hamburg IDA meeting at 7:33 a.m.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mayor and Wentz. Meeting is open. First item on the agenda are the meeting minutes from December 13th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve those.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Jamel. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item on the agenda is our financial report from December 31st, 2023.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So we had total income of $4,075. We had payroll expenses of $22,424.47. Coming off of that, we our expenses over income was $20,699.03 for a total balance of $934,331.62. We actually did very well, except for one category here. We all know what the category is, but we had projected for, if you look at this January through December 23rd count, we had projected 175,000 for payroll expenses and stuff. We ended up with 171,000. We also had $222,000, if you look at that column, 925.55 in total expenses. Well, actually, we had projected 245,162. So we are down on that one too, or we're a little over on that one, but that was due to the additional cost, I think, of the loan that we didn't really get into that at the beginning of the year, that $25,000 loan. But overall, if you take those projections away, I think we did good all the way through, except for the income, which we had projected around 300,000. We only ended up with 85,000. So that's how our balance got, our budget, projected budget got out of a little balance, just so everybody in the room knows what was went on with that one. So next year we adjusted that projected income and hopefully we're within balance next year. Any questions on any of this? It's kind of a year-end wrap up. Go ahead, Mike.
Motion to accept financial report.
Thank you. Lance, second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Cam. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. My director update, we have committee assignments in our February meeting, so we'll send out a couple email notices and reminders. But if you're interested in participating in any certain committees or looking to make any changes to committees, just let Mary or I know, and we'll address it with our chair, please. My director report, I changed it up a little bit. I was just getting bored of the old report. So this is the one with the bar chart on the first page. I'll give you a minute, Bob, just to walk everybody through, just so you, I just want to kind of walk through this, just to like understand this and make sure it's clear for everyone. We can certainly make any changes to this. But I wanted to try to make it a little bit more of a dashboard report and to highlight some things that we talk about, but I think it's better if it's a little bit more transparent by just, also being out there in a print form. Thanks. Okay, so the first page is the IDA report. What we have here in this bar chart is our budget expense. So this is the annual budgeted expense represented in the high green bar area. And then we have our revenue year to date and our spend year to date. Obviously, we haven't done a January financial report, so these aren't approved financials, but generally projected. It gives you a better, I feel, trajectory in a visual snapshot of where our year's at and where we're forecasting and how we're tracking. To the right of that is pilot revenue. So this is essentially payment in lieu of taxes revenue to the taxing jurisdictions. So of the approved projects that are active or have not been reconveyed, this is the amount of tax dollars being received or payment in lieu of tax dollars being received by the town, county, and school jurisdictions.
So, okay, that's good. In other words, this is, it's sort of because we're on camera, this is everything that the town is receiving because of our incentives?
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is money that, due to the but-for, may not have been received by these taxing jurisdictions if not for pilots.
Will this be, so if I'm reading this correctly, so this is one time then, right? So, or is this reoccurring type of?
This would be, it changes annually,
Yeah,
but it would be, an annual payment to the taxing jurisdictions.
So every project has an annual pilot, but generally it goes down.
yeah.
Well, no, actually, just the pilot payments go up over time and then.
Oh,
they'll
right,
be
I'm sorry, I
off.
said that backwards.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I guess I'm just kind of looking at this, how we would read this, right? Because as we look at 2024, will we expect some old stuff to start to creep into there? Or
That-
are you just gonna give us snapshots every?
That number, well, no, actually, that number would be static
Okay.
until we get into 2024.
Good question.
That number, Jamel, could go down based upon, pilots falling off. So these numbers will essentially go up and up and up. And then when they go to their full assessed value, then they're off our pilot roll and they're back on the tax roll. But my hope was to convey to the board and then also, anybody who would view our information, where the benefit is. What's the benefit of the town of Hamburg IDA to the municipality?
So we put about $1.8 million in incentive taxes into the town of Hamburg this past year.
Correct, correct.
Okay, so now if we do a pilot this year. It starts off low, but they'll still get taxes goes in it because we did the pilot and created it, just pick on one of those companies that's gonna create jobs. We can see an increase there, but we might see it go down because we lost pilots.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, and we can, speak up if if you think that that's not clear, if it could be more clarification. I really didn't review this.
Besides us?
Pardon me?
Who's gonna see this besides us?
Well, it would be, it's foilable. We don't put director reports on the website. I mean, we could. So, yeah, I mean, so I would, in the guise of how we operate, I would prefer that, we could put this on the website in the meeting packet.
I think that, if you do that, like these, like pilot, payment in lieu of taxes.
Oh, okay.
I'm-
Just
I'm-
because, yeah,
Yeah,
I got
I
you.
mean, that's something new to me. But I mean, if it's just, anytime there's like an acronym, I think.
Yeah,
For somebody that isn't on the board.
yeah.
Or somebody that is on the board, if that's on there, that's.
Okay. No, that's great.
But I think this is good to, cause everywhere I go, I hear negative things about IDAs and I don't think they're not talking about us, cause I think. Led by Sean and all of you, we're great, but it's just a bad word, a lot of circles.
Yeah, and that's what I want to
We
try
can say, hey,
to
we're great. So
highlight.
I like this, great job.
So then below that is 2024 approved new pilot revenue. So that would be projected revenue from new pilots. So basically, that's your dashboard as to like what we've approved and what we've got done this year as a group. Yes, Andy.
Would there be a possibility of almost doing like a banner on the website with this data? Just somebody clicks on it, it's just open source, easy, quick to read.
Like a year-to-date dashboard type thing.
What 220, on our website, it goes to different projects created
Mhm,
and construction
mhm.
dollars, keep that, but also
Okay.
have just a real live update, maybe monthly
Okay,
after each meeting. What 2023 payment in lieu of taxes revenue. And
okay,
then 2024 numbers, and then I think the most important that I would consider would be the employment impact.
okay.
That'd be something I would suggest. Oh, the sponsorships and grants, that's important. I mean, that's not a little bit of money. It's a lot of money towards something that's local.
Okay. Thanks. Then below the bar chart is the amount of fees due. So that's the number we typically report on in the director report of approved projects that have not yet closed. So that gives the board an idea on, last year, you think these things are gonna close and it'll be revenue booked. It's not I'm not as optimistic after last year, but these are approved projects. But these are projects, with that number represents Mission Hills. It represents KH, it doesn't represent the KH new build. So these are projects that are active, and shovels are in the ground. So that money is coming in, but April, we're waiting on a commitment letter for Mission Hills. I think that's later on in the report. We still don't have that yet. So they might be in front of us for another extension with potentially, more fees.
Can I just go back to that approved new pilot revenue?
Yes,
Should there be some sort of clarification that that's for new projects and does not include the older, the pilots that are existing? It's gonna look like, oh, well, we only got 50,000 this year or 40,000, let's say, new pilot revenue. And I think it could be a little confusing when you start comparing it to the 2023. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Well, and by the time how about like thinking out loud once you started or thinking quietly once you were talking, we could have approved like capital investment amount. So if we approved, X amount of projects with a dollar amount of, say $40 million.
This is what we did this year.
We could
That's
put
a good
that,
idea.
like, the guys, the data was to track the agency performance year to date.
I think
Would that be okay for you?
23, because it's gonna give you the synopsis of what happened in 23.
Okay.
And I think that should be continued and updated. I'm just looking at this and trying to think from somebody that looking from the outside. that they're gonna only think that that's the revenue you're going to get from 2024, when in effect, it's really that plus the older pilots.
This is like total, this is total,
Yeah,
2023 total pilot revenue,
right.
right? Maybe
Yeah.
we ought to have the word total in there for that
Right.
year, right? That was generated through all the pilots, because it's generated through all our pilots,
Right.
right?
Or maybe you separate that 2024 and put that somewhere else in this report. So it's not
Well, and-
right together.
These are all year-to-date numbers, right?
Yeah,
So
and really,
I think you should, if they are year-to-date numbers, you should identify them as year-to-date numbers, right? So, you know, year-to-date for 2023, so you can see how much we've generated in 2023. And then year-to-date for 2024, like, once we start getting those payments in, it'll be some of the old pilots, some of the new pilots, right? So it'll show the annual impact. I think that's what.
They'll be on the same, you're bringing it together in the same apples to apples and
Yes.
not an apple to orange comparison.
Can you go back 2 years on that? That pilot revenue?
No problem.
Well, I mean,
It's the same thing.
you could, I mean,
No,
we could
no,
do
good.
anything we wanted to like.
No, 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 no.
Make a number.
Can you give the board what you want? I mean.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I'm
we
saying?
Barry tracks the pilot, I mean, she knows what.
I would
we
be
could look
really
at the data
curious
from-
to see what 2022 is and see,
Okay.
and just to see that we're increasing, decreasing.
Yeah, and it may.
I know it's
decrease
just
as pi-
because of
yeah.
pilots falling
I think
off.
the main concern for you as board is, you know, what have we done lately? So,
Right.
you know, that's why I think maybe that capital improvement for 2024 is maybe that number to track. So you can know like, okay, what have we done? this year? What's
Right.
going on?
I think it'd be important to capital improvement overall in the past decade. Put that big. Put what the true number is of the
Uh-huh.
investment in Hamburg, just so it's obvious. I mean, this is a good number, but for the work that the IDA does and the total revenue it generates, construction jobs, all that stuff, it's not reflected in a pilot
Okay,
payment.
Well, the capital improvement plus the number of jobs that's created, I think those two are really something. to
yeah,
focus on.
and we haven't even gotten to that, you know, the employment impact is another, you know, substantial metric that we should be tracking. So, you know, basically we go, you know, in 2023, we report on 2022. In 2024, you know, coming up the next month and a half, 2 months, we will be reporting on 2023. So we have, you know, the current employment, the jobs committed. And then going into 2024, again, like what have we done this year? What's the current number for this year? What have you done for me lately? That would be like the created and retained numbers. So again, it's at 0. We have no approved projects year to date, January 10th, 2024.
Oh, yeah, like,
Okay, so then we go down to project activity. These are the project tracking that are due to close. Their expiration dates are represented in there also. So the board has a little bit better insight to that at a quick glance. We have, you know, project activity, ones that are, you know, kind of in process that, you know, we've been engaging with these developers and trying to work with them to get the development going. And then below that, just a list of prime sites in the town, that, you know, are great opportunities. So again, more so for the public viewing, these are sites that, you know, we're really tracking and actively, you know, they're prime development. So it's a reuse project. It's a current building. It's, you know, land that's, you know, like our site, like industrially zoned, not a lot of not a lot of environmental impact to developing these sites. So those are the sites that we've always, you know, planned for development, and, you know, we want to make sure are the most productive in the town. To the right of that is just a quick snapshot of the Hamburg Development Corporation, just to report to you as a board, you know, is that corporation uses some of my time as to what's going on over there. And to highlight, yeah, thanks for those that RSVP'd, there's still an opportunity. January 30th, 2024 at 8 o'clock, we have a annual breakfast meeting at Ilium. Continuing on, community engagement, basically just talks about what what the IDA is doing to engage members of the community, our economic development activities, ancillary activities for economic development, like the brownfield work, Pitch Hamburg, the startup incubator, some of those things that have always been on the director report, but just more so represented under community engagement. Also, I included some of the social media work, just like, I figured a post from the month that Mary had created that we posted on our social media. Advocacy and legislation is the next category, just, same thing, different look. But this month, the Amazon project had a lot of great press that was really generated organically, through their own success. We had confidence in the project and it came to reality. And that, I think had some nice press, and there were some nice stories about some local employment opportunities generated. So some nice feel-good stories that really, I think, should make the board, really understand at a personal level, for a community member, the impact that you have out there. And then business development, just some highlights of some, active projects that we're working on, things that we're doing, again, to drive taxable value and employment in the town. Save the date, new graphic, and that's the IDA report. The LDC report, similar, a bar chart, budgeted expense. Obviously, the budgeted expense for the LDC is lower. So the revenue, just vis-a-vis interest payments from our savings accounts, occupies a bulk of that income. So we have disposition activity related to our land project, acquisition activity, opportunities in the community that we may look to target, that we can talk to publicly, and then financing activity. I have represented in there. We typically don't do a lot of tax exempt financing work, but the Feed More project is moving forward. We have a final draft application. It's a big project, so there's a lot of legal on it, in terms of Feed More's attorney, bond counsel, our LDC attorney, Jennifer. So there's various channels of approval on that project, but as a update, like I said, the application is probably 99% done. The public hearing, they're looking to publish towards the end of this month. We may look to schedule a public hearing, I would say around February 7th at Town Hall, assuming availability. Then that would be a week before the following board meeting. So would be the public hearing review for that project. Any questions on the director report? Yes.
It's not so much the direct part, just the finance activity for the LDC. I noticed that Hamburg College is putting in a pretty big expansion. I don't know, is that something that's bonded, or how does that work?
It potentially could be. It remains still working to understand with them the amount of financing they need. So we will, we'll work, and I act as a fiduciary on behalf of, our pilot applicants or these not-for-profits, just to make sure that, there's added costs and fees to this level of financing to syndicate these bonds and sell these bonds and to get the credit analysis done. So we'll work to review with them, like typically they needed a large amount of finance. So maybe like $7 to $10 million or more, but we're still working with them to look at that.
Perfect.
So there may be opportunities where they, involve it in another project. For instance, Hilbert is a little bit in a housing pinch. That Immaculate or the convent, that project is not really moving forward with Sinatra. The planning approval has expired. It's been over a year. They're having some leasing challenges getting that building going. So that puts some pressure on Hilbert in terms of dormitories, because they were hoping to, have some, like a master lease agreement over there. So there are some challenges over there, and there may be ways that we can look to support that. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
No, it's-
Okay, very good.
That looks good.
Good, and then we'll make those changes and
Can
we'll
we
make
do
those
this
updates
with our
for the
board
website.
report ahead of time or not?
Yeah, I can do that.
Because I print everything out,
Yeah, no, this was something that,
Yeah.
they came in a little bit late, just
Be nice to review it in
reformatting
our
it.
board report. Board
Because
public.
you have a little bit
Then we
more
can
time to
really
review.
Yeah, then we can really.
No, I don't like to give you too much notice. Just like our public hearing, so that February 6th meeting will be at, 7:30. No, I'll look to, we'll circulate some times around with the board, we need to work with the applicant, so. That, and it still needs to be signed and formally approved, so there's some critical steps there. That need to be achieved first. Next item on the agenda are the Paris reporting and company updates. And so, just to recap, we had some employment numbers that were short of their targeted goals and their stated goals of approved pilot projects. We had given notice to these companies, and tried to work with them to establish an employment plan. We've been in close communication with a number of them, and they've been generally great in working with the IDA, to try to, establish a path and understand what's going on, trying to work with us so they could convey open opportunities. And of the 5, 2 have fell off. So 2 have met their employment goals, 3 remain. In the packet I had sent, we have communication, just evidence of the communication between the 3 companies that remain and the IDA. So at this point, I would recommend to the board that they do need to get through the project agent agreement, like a formal 30-day notice. So essentially, we have potential to pursue recapture activity here, or to terminate a pilot due to this employment shortfall. But before we can make any decision on that, they will get essentially like a last 30-day notice, give them the opportunity to ratchet up, or we can go back for the dates where they did not have the qualified employment. But this will be like a final, like show cause to these 3 companies to, to provide some action plan or to provide documentation that they've reached their targeted goals. Okay, so that's where we're at. So we'll provide notice, they'll have 30 days to respond, and then we'll have a formal review with, some proposed resolutions to the board.
So do you need a motion to send out a registered letter to these people or anything like this?
Yeah.
Your existing policies.
Okay, so we send a registered letter within the next week or so to them to notify, right? And then they have 30 days to respond to us. That's like, just because we're on public.
So, I mean, I would say, that they have, in some of them, more extent than the others, they've really been working towards this. They're short of the goals, they have open positions. They state that, it's not even a question of wages. It's a question of getting applicants in the door. So, we've
Can
talked
they
to them.
provide all that?
Ask
to us then?
questions. Yeah, I
It's
can,
legally, they can provide everything, like, in other words, they've got an open position, they've had 5 applicants, and so at least we see that part of our decision.
And I think Sean's saying that they have been, most of them have been.
yeah, I mean, I have not seen the applications.
I think that's part of the process if they want to prove it,
So-
at least put some application.
That might violate privacy rights unless they heavily
Yeah, I don't
redact.
want to see anything about their employees.
No, I don't want to see anything about their employees, but at least a name or something, somebody that's applied. I mean, how are we gonna, I could tell you I got 10 applicants, right?
I don't, my thought would be, and what I've like requested from them and like legally, we don't have an identified an
There's
agreement.
no agreement that they.
But I've asked to see like
Days.
Okay.
postings, like, so say for instance, they do like, an employment website.
Like Indeed or something.
Like Indeed,
Okay.
like if they can show me their Indeed postings and like-
Because you don't wanna, they don't wanna let you know who's applying, because what if that person's working from, you know.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean,
You
yeah.
know?
Sean, are you considering?
I'm going to work at K&H, make
I guess
helicopter parts.
I would just maybe raise one concern specifically around Jameson. Are we talking about the companies?
Yeah, we can talk about these companies, yeah. Now.
So I read their response, which was enlightening, right? I mean, there is a lot of work that goes into hiring these tradesmen, right? These tradespeople, sorry, and there's, there's 4-year lead times, and they can only have so many apprentices. And it looks like they took a hit with COVID, and it's probably been really hard to recoup from that for them. The other point that I found particularly compelling was that we're comparing them against their peak, where they were at their peak season in July. So my suggestion would be that we compare them again at their peak season when they're at their max workforce. So I guess with Jameson, I would suggest maybe we reevaluate them in July when they're at their peak season, rather than giving them, right now saying, probably February is not the time when you employ the most roofers.
Right.
So my suggestion would be we give Jameson 180 days rather than 30 days.
Okay.
So I got a couple things about that. So about 2 months ago, they had a trades fair at the Galleria Mall. The sheet metal workers were there, which in part, the sheet metal workers that work for Jameson, they do the architectural sheet metal. I didn't see any rougher there, like the union itself. To my recollection, I could find out if they were. My question would be, how many people are at the hall? So when you work skilled trades on the outside, unionized, you report to the hall that you're willing to work, whether or not the company has work for you. So if there's no tradesmen available or tradespeople available, that's one thing. Because that's kind of what they're saying here also with the numbers.
Oh, okay, so you're saying like there's a running tally, roll call
Yeah,
at
there's
the
a
hall.
pool of workers.
And then if the company calls the hall and says, hey, I need 10 roofers for whatever, I don't know how it works, but if they're not there, they're not there.
Yes, you're
Okay,
exactly right. So.
and then it would call them out if there is a employment labor available and they're not affording themselves. Okay, that's good, that's great, thank you.
I mean, I'm with you. I feel their pain,
Yeah.
but if there's 20 guys or gals
On the
waiting-
shelf that aren't
Right.
getting used, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's been difficult for us on this, because it's a problem, it's not related specifically to, these couple employers, a lot of these companies have been struggling, albeit some have been able to achieve this and others have not. So, it certainly impacts employment, nationally. So it's a difficult, decision that we're gonna be forced with.
One other question, so are these targets that they agreed with us on achieving,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I guess to your one point, like their peak summertime, whatever that was. I'm assuming they agreed to compare to that number, that was the number they provided as a target for us, right? So.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna have to review that with them to see
Yeah.
like how, and I think that, what we typically go on is the rule of thumb is the New York 45, which is in essentially the employment withholding
Mhm.
tax. So if you have withholding tax on an employee, that gets reported on. So, we could look at that from the year and say like, where's your number? So like, if they're pulling people at a static period of time versus like their annual total reporting, that's essentially what the state, auditing offices look to, that form. So that essentially makes sure that you just can't like make up a number. You're paying taxes on that number, so you're not gonna make it up.
I can handle that.
So I'll look into that and make sure that they're reporting with that number, which should have their cap. I think that's great advice, Wentz, through, working with them through the hall to, do like back check on, essentially if they're making this up or, if this is indeed the problem, because at that point, I think they're working towards it. There's only so much you can do. Yes, Andy.
In regards to Upstate Steel, that company's in my industry and I know their WBE license got revoked. And it's across New York and it's unfounded. I know Upstate Steel got it back recently. And so I mean, I can't remember exactly, and I don't want to state as fact that I'm not 100% sure, but they weren't able to bid on the stadium because of the state government revoking their WBE. Because of what the general contractors at the stadium, it was something to that effect. I don't want to get into specifics because I'm not sure of them. But that goes to, I mean, if you have outside influences impacting your business, like, I don't know, a state government revoking your certification for no reason, they didn't even give an appeal process at the time that it was revoked, number one. And number two, it's like the process was so long that, I mean, when you bid a job, it's not for tomorrow. It's not like you're bidding a welder to come weld on your truck today and they can do it in a week. These are projects. This is a company that does projects years in advance. So they're gonna have a dead period because of what our state government did to them. So I would just be very careful and make sure, like we're suggesting, to look at these seriously and fairly.
What's WBE?
Women Business Certification.
Okay.
So they would, with that certification, they would get preferred bid status on projects that have a requirement of minority or women owned.
So they did have it and then they revoked it.
With no apparent reasoning. And it's,
Well, that's.
I know of 3 or 4 companies that women owners this is why the whole system was set up to get companies with that owned by women to get into the area to win these projects. And then they just get a letter from New York State saying, yeah, that you no longer are qualified. Not giving a reason, nothing. And these are women that are in day-to-day operations.
I mean, to their credit or their detriment, they didn't, given the chance to explain their situation, they didn't raise that.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe they should have.
Maybe they should have, yeah.
Yeah, they have in conversation with me. And that's when I was aware that they did get it back. So Jan Shimowek and Lauren, the company principals have conveyed to me that their outlook in employment is positive. So again, like this will be the 30-day notice where they should convey the whatever factors have led to impeding their success, and then it'll be on the board to scrutinize this and see what we do on a go forward.
So I guess my question would be off the information that you have and they haven't brought forward. Is that the only project that they were taken out of?
I'm sure not, but I don't know that at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure of the stadium. I don't want to make a statement that was fact. I think when we look into this, we should maybe encourage them to bring forward this information so we have it from the horse's mouth, not me. I'm not 100% sure.
And what do they, so what that company does, they make steel or do they put it up?
No, they don't put it up. I think they're a fabrication.
They're like more of a fabrication shop, so they'll take steel and weld it, mold it. I don't know if they do things like the railings, for instance here, like they're waiting for.
We got them available.
Supply chain issues.
Supply chain issues.
Come see me. Bob will sell you.
So, and I will also invite, these applicants into the meeting. I would like anything that they can do to convey to the board, that they want to work with us, I feel is positive. That they what they're trying to do, because then we have these conversations and it may bring about some ideas and opportunities for these businesses. We want them to, remain in Hamburg and to succeed and to thrive and to grow. So, a collaborative relationship is really what we look for when they engage with us. They have an obligation. We you have an obligation, I think, to advocate and to support these businesses as well. So, the relationship, if it's engaged, hopefully is productive.
Based on the information that we have, I mean, each one of these is going to have to be looked at individually, and maybe a remedy may be a little bit different from one to another.
Right.
Yeah, there's potential for that, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. I don't want to be too hard-edged about it, right? But, at the end of the day, they did receive some benefit,
Right.
right? And so we should have some consistent framework that we kind of look at each one of these companies with, right? And although each situation is probably unique, we should have at least a couple of parameters that we kind of all can agree to in terms of, direction or future and how that plays into what we decide to do in terms of any like recoup, right? Clawbacks, whatever it's called, I forget that name, but I think we need to be consistent there. That's my only recommendation.
Agree.
Thanks, I'm just taking some notes. Sorry for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, so
That's about it, Jennifer.
that will continue.
You do have a recapture policy,
Right,
that has a few parameters. It's a little loose. It does give the board a little bit of discretion, depending on each company's circumstance. We can certainly, the board can certainly review that policy. I'm going to imagine in February and March, Sean's going to do the annual review of policies.
Yes, and we are, we're looking at we have a governance meeting in February. So we'll have some advice going into this with that, because we're looking at the fee schedule policy, and I can add we have enough time to add the recapture policy to that. So that's why I was taking notes with some of Jamel's comments.
Isn't he chairman of the governance committee, Jamel?
No, he's not.
You know what? You guys appointment, did you guys get through the last sentence in the Jameson report? If you look at that last paragraph, it,
Yes.
Yeah.
I take that as a shot. That kind of ticks me off a little bit. Like, we'll just move if you guys don't. We'll find a better place to put our
I
stuff.
didn't read the report.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
didn't know.
yeah, that is concerning. That's a concerning sentence. I mean, we cannot evict them. We can, like we have the ability to end their payment in lieu of tax benefit or recapture past benefits.
The only thing I say that is that what we did is a shot too. Now it's agreed upon shot. They agreed upon the employment thing.
Absolutely.
So as a business owner, if a government entity that's never created a payroll in their life came to me and says, hey, I know you just went through COVID and I know you just went through supply chain issues and blah, 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 blah. And there's a historic shortage of tradesmen, hopefully, like we'll find out for sure. Tradespeople, excuse me. Oh, and by the way, you didn't meet your employment numbers. You suck. That's how I take that letter from the IDA personally. So I imagine it was shot back.
Yeah, we're just another in a long line of people slapping around.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have an obligation to the tax.
sure do.
So that's
It was what they got a
that's
nice
where we
home to
have
start, didn't they?
So,
I guess on a flip side of that point, though, did I inflate my number originally to get the IDA?
Then it's bad on
Then
them.
you've got to,
I mean, look
I'm
at the
not saying
time.
that they did in this particular case, but I want to get an IDA, I'm gonna inflate my job, numbers and make it look better.
yeah, I don't know if
You
we
gotta
can
be
assume
careful when
that.
you're making those applications.
I'd be careful to assume that, but it doesn't, they agreed on it. And we are an entity that is responsible to the citizens of Hamburg. I get it. But we also have we're part of a state that is exiting mass amount of business. And yet again, like Cam put it wonderfully, we are just another entity going, you guys suck.
Yeah, but that doesn't, I get what you're saying, maybe with the steel places, but the roofing. It's not going, I mean, they have to be, because they're not gonna get any jobs if they're not in New York State, in Erie County.
Yeah.
In the area that So,
Not my intention, to argue. I'm just trying to, as a business owner, shed some light on how I would take it.
No, I get it. I just don't like that.
Yeah, I don't, it may have not been authored the best.
Probably not. That was an Andy Pound on the other side of that one right there.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to consider. We, and I know we've been going over this and providing updates for months now. But because it's not an easy decision, it weighs heavily on me, and I think it's it's tough. It's a tough time, and it's if the economy was coming along and for whatever reason this company was not thriving, I would have less of an issue with it, but due to a lot of, economic factors, it's tough. Next item on the agenda is Invest Buffalo Niagara. We have a motion to approve a $5,000 2024 sponsorship membership in Invest Buffalo Niagara. Funds are earmarked in the 2024 budget.
So move.
Thank you, Andy.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The sexual harassment training for 2024. If you can provide certification to Mary, we'll start tracking that again. So the sooner you get it, the sooner we'll leave you
What
alone.
changed since last year?
Not sure. We have to do our training too.
Did something get approved or?
Just kind of let me know what changed.
Can you provide the link for I think there's a state,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a state
one,
resource.
like, I used to do it
That's
through my
what we-
employer, but that's not available to me anymore. So if there's a standard one that we could just.
Does the
click-
school board require it?
No.
They should,
It's
right?
it's a good point, they don't.
Especially the school board.
Not on public record, guys.
Yeah.
Lawyers
Calling them out.
can submit that proof to the IDA, you don't have to do
Yeah.
it for each.
You don't have to do a second.
Right, if you have your employer one, that's what I've done in the past, but that's not
Yeah.
available to me anymore, so I have to do the.
Lowe's.
That's gotta be fun.
Lowe's has got a sexual harassment.
Okay,
Every time I go there, you're, all right.
You know how much of them are. After 6 months, I took Bob in training off and the manager said, why did you have it on? I said, because they treat you so much nicer when you're in training. Especially at Christmas time.
unfinished business, privilege of the floor. Executive session,
Make motion to go in executive session,
okay,
Second.
To discuss what?
personnel issue. Me,
And who would you like present in that?
everybody here, just not recorded.
okay, 1 second, please.
I'll second his motion.
Tube stream.
All in favor?
Uh,
Just so you have it on record. on here. Boy, those lawyers are tough.
I'll be right back.
We wanna be right, though. We don't wanna-
Oh, they definitely.
Right, 5 young cops. Is that recorded?
Not yet.
Get up
Okay.
later.
Motion to come out of executive session at 8:28 AM with no action taken.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everyone. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mary, got 2 names on there? Okay, motion to adjourn the January 10th, 2024 Hamburg IDA meeting at 8:29 AM.
So moved.
Thank you, Bob. Reynolds?
Second.
Thank you, Jamel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next meeting, February 14th. Valentine's Day.
Oh, we get candy
I'll bring it.
And wine?
and wine? Oh, I like wine. I could drink
It's
wine early.
7:30 in the morning.